In the headline, National Association of Resident Doctors declare total and indefinite strike action. NLC set to begin nationwide strike August 2nd over fuel price hike. Bandits attack Zamfara community, kill 7 soldiers. And on the foreign scene, Ghana's parliament vote to abolish the death penalty. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. And we begin with health, where the National Association of Resident Doctors has declared a total and indefinite strike action. The association revealed this in a terse statement on Tuesday evening. The resident doctors listed their demands to include the immediate payment of the 2023 MRTF, the immediate release of the circular on 1-for-1 replacement, and the payment of skipping arrears. The list also noted the upward review of CONMES in line with full salary restoration to the 2014 values of CONMES, the payment of the arrears of consequential adjustment of minimum to the omitted doctors, and the reversal of the downgrading of the membership certificate by MDCN. Other demands are the payment of MRTF, new hazard allowance, skipping and implementation of corrected CONMES in state tertiary health institutions, and the payment of omitted hazard allowance arrears. The strike comes after the association on July 5th issued a 2-week ultimatum to the federal government for the implementation of all its demands. In an attempt to avert the strike, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, on Monday held deliberations with the leadership of NARD behind closed doors. Following the private talks, Abbas promised to meet with President Bola Tinubu to avert the industrial action of the resident doctors and announced the setup of an ad hoc committee to meet with all the stakeholders to address the matter. The Speaker also appealed to NARD to give the House leadership a 2-week period to find solutions to the issues raised. The Nigerian Labour Congress has given a 7-day notice of nationwide strike starting August 2nd over fuel price increases. Though the federal government had obtained an interim order from the National Industrial Court restraining the Congress from going on strike, the report says the union leaders are bent on going ahead with the strike. In June, the Tinubu-led administration sued NLC to avert a statewide strike following the initial removal of fuel subsidy. The NLC's National Treasurer, Hakim Ambali, said they only issued the federal government a 7-day deadline to conclude all negotiations with labor or risk industrial action by the Central Working Committee. Earlier this week, an NLC spokesman said the Congress would convene on Tuesday to discuss next steps. Failure to reach the deadline would result in a nationwide strike. The NLC's national president, Joe Ajero, has not released an official statement on the planned strike. Moving on to security, 7 soldiers have been reportedly killed in an ambush by bandits in Zamfara State. The bandits are said to have attacked the Kongwangarachi community under the Ngulbi district of Maru local government area of Zamfara State on Monday afternoon, killing several residents. A resident of Ngulbi community, Lowell Ngulbi, confirmed on Tuesday that the troops were responding to a distress call about the attack on the community when they fell into the bandits' ambush. According to him, no fewer than 20 residents of the community were killed during the attack. Nigerian Army authorities in Zamfara State are yet to comment on the incident. 7 officers of the Nigerian Army were killed during the attack on Monday. Zamfara is one of the states worst hit by banditry. An armed gang have attacked the convoy of the Commissioner for Trade, Commerce and Industry during his official tour in Aba, Abia State. The attack which occurred around 4 p.m., tragically led to the death of 2 police officers and resulted in a government vehicle being set ablaze. The commissioner the commissioner's convoy was en route the Ekoha shopping plaza for a familiarization tour when the assailants opened fire. In the ensuing chaos, a police constable attached to the convoy was fatally shot. Unfortunately, a police inspector who was at the scene for a separate assignment also lost his life. Speaking on behalf of the Commissioner of Police, ASP Maureen Chioma Chinaka, said that any information, no matter how insignificant, could prove pivotal in apprehending those responsible for the heinous act. Following an ultimatum from Finland-based Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa calling for 2 weeks total shutdown of southeast part of Nigeria beginning from 31st July 2023, transport companies in Cross River State have hinted that they may not release their buses to ply that route during the period. They said the decision is not only to save their buses but lives of passengers and their drivers. A few days ago, Ekpa released a statement calling for total compliance. He said that on Saturday 6th August and Sunday 7th August, the 2-week-long sit-at-home will go on break as all Biafran markets will be opened. In an exclusive interview, one of the officials of a transport company in Calabar, who gave his name as Orji Fabian, said due to insecurity in the southeast, they have since reduced a number of the buses plying that axis, having suffered attacks in recent times. The Nigerian Bar Association has described as despicable Tuesday's scuffle between operatives of the Department of State Services and officers of the Nigerian Correctional Service over the custody of the suspended governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. NBA President Yakubu Maikyau, in a statement on Wednesday, called on the two agencies to take immediate disciplinary measures against the officers involved in the disgraceful conduct. He said the altercation between officers of the two government agencies on the premises of the Federal High Court in Lagos is a recipe for anarchy and chaos, adding that it was a brazen disrespect for the sanctity of the court premises. The federal government, in its efforts to block leakages and incessant infiltration of ghost workers in the civil service, says it has detected 1,618 civil servants with fake employment letters. This was disclosed by the head of service of the Federation, Bolasha Deyemiason, on Tuesday while speaking during a media parley ahead of the 2023 Civil Service Week. She said the discovery was made after the introduction of control mechanisms set up by the service to address loopholes identified in the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Personnel Information System. According to the head of service, 69,854 officers have been captured in the core ministries, departments and agencies across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country and the Federal Capital Territory. She added that the exercise has recorded continuous suspension of officers from the IPPIS platform for not uploading their records. Kaduna State Governor Senator Obasani has signed an executive order on financial inclusion in Kaduna State. This is pursuant to the state government's efforts to address the exclusion of about 2.1 million poor, undeserved and vulnerable citizens in rural areas from financial services in Kaduna State and to ensure they benefit from the state and federal government social intervention programs. The report.
And literacy. According to Obasani, the Financial Inclusion and Literacy Committee is constituted to fashion out strategies and modalities to ensure the inclusion of the poor, underserved, and vulnerable in Kaduna State, as well as equip them with financial skills to enable them make sound financial and investment decisions.
In the last 5 years, precisely, billions of naira was transferred to the vulnerable within our own country by the previous government. But I want to make it clear to all of you here that a lot of people that are supposed to benefit from that transfer did not get it. And for me, that is why at this critical time, I believe a lot of vulnerable and poor within our own society are still facing serious problem of poverty in our own society, particularly in northern part of Nigeria. And I hope and believe by the grace of God, this will be the only way for our underserved, vulnerable and poor to be involved in the affairs of government and also to benefit from government support in the near future.
The move, which also aims to cushion the effect of subsidy removal, will include about 1 million poor, underserved, unbanked, and vulnerable citizens in the financial services sector in the next 1 year.
We have farmers, and we have decided to also try to subsidize fertilizer. We are also working to ensure that we distribute food items to the poor. We are also looking at the issue of transportation. So, Kaduna State Government, these are some of the steps we have already planned and we have started implementing them.
The state government says it will work with banks and other financial service providers to open bank accounts for unbanked citizens and embark on aggressive sensitization programs to ensure mass participation of citizens in the exercise. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break, we take a look at challenges of research outputs in the academia. Do stay with us.
Sounds like you are disappointed with the current lot.
We are outside, me and you, regardless, we could have done better.
That you don't have to sacrifice your conviction. We cannot settle for what is bad.
I sacked a governor because of misappropriating 300,000 naira.
The clamor by the NCSC was a unitary form of government. This doesn't go well with Savannah. So when we said we wanted self-government for Nigerian entities, so look, count me out.
What you call goal, aims and directives. But the issue of joining politics simply because you want to be given job or to be given contract.
Removing the assumptions, the foundations of their theories, and at the end of it, each and every one of them seems to be surprised.
I was posted to Guachuku. My job was to go from community to community, educating the people how to improve themselves. Government will come to help
you. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Trust News Update, a recap of our top stories. We told you that National Association of Resident Doctors declared total and indefinite strike action. We also told you that NLC is set to begin nationwide strike August 2nd over a fuel price hike. Moving to other stories, Enugu State Government says it has sealed no fewer than 106 shops and 2 banks in the state for allegedly observing Monday's sit-at-home order imposed by a factional leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Simon Ekpa. The governor said all the sealed businesses would remain sealed for 1 week, after which the administration would consider either reopening them on certain conditions or selling them off. Governor Peter Mba, in a statement by the secretary to the state government, Professor Chidiebere Onya, said the action was in line with the government's warning, adding that the intention was not to punish businesses, but to encourage and inculcate the spirit of no sit-at-home in traders. Funding research in Nigerian universities is still a challenge, affecting productivity and outputs, as well as limiting the scope of research work. Experts at a 3-day research training in Bayero University in Kano argue that strengthening writing skills of early researchers will significantly improve the Nigerian education system. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that it is the first time early researchers in Nigerian universities are meeting in Kano to improve capacity.
These are doctorate degree holders of different fields of studies from various universities and research centers across the country. They are believed to have obtained all the necessary knowledge and perfected all theoretical aspects of conducting research on their areas of expertise. But their writing skills to access funds is highly questionable.
The purpose of this workshop is to develop the capacity of junior academics, particularly the so-called early career researchers in Nigerian universities. Early career researchers are researchers who are considered to be in the first 5 years of their research career.
Worried over the increasing threat of productivity and output of the nation's educational institutions occasioned by the research challenges, Bayero University Kano, through its Directorate of Research, Innovation and Partnership, is aiming to ensure that researchers will henceforth be able to access both foreign and domestic research grants.
Every single society has issues and challenges. The only way to find answers to these issues and challenges is through research. So this just shows how important it is for us to be able to conduct research. And one of the ways to get funding for research is to be able to access grants.
By this exercise, researchers in Nigerian universities are expected to strengthen their writing skills, be able to develop a research proposal for possible funding, and come up with various research programs to further enhance the nation's educational system.
So what we actually expect from this workshop is to be able to get research grants and then to be able to move our centers and institutes forward.
My expectation is that at the end of the workshop I should be well equipped with how to go about writing a research proposal and then subsequently win a grant.
Within the next 3 days, these early researchers will be trained on issues relating to research problem and objectives analysis, research project rescheduling and budget justification, as well as preparing early researchers for leadership roles across the nation's universities and other educational institutions. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The Nigerian passport has risen 9 places in the latest global passport ranking. In the recently released Henley Passport Index for second quarter 2023, the Nigerian passport rose from its previous 100th position to 91st among the 199 countries and 227 travel destinations studied. The Henley Passport Index assesses the strength of world passports based on the number of destinations its holders can access without a prior visa. The latest ranking indicates improved global access for Nigerians. However, the number of countries accessible without visas or with visa on arrival remain at 46. The Central Bank of Nigeria has directed banks to vacate a post-no-debit restriction placed on the bank accounts of 440 individuals and companies. A post-no-debit means that all debit transactions, including ATMs and checks, on the accounts have been blocked but can receive inflows. The circular, signed by A.M. Barrow on behalf of the CBN Director of Banking Supervision on Tuesday, also instructed banks to notify the concerned customers of the development. The companies on the list include Bamboo Systems Technology Limited, S-Scale Oil and Gas Limited, Rise Vest Technologies Limited, Chaka Technologies Limited, Aboki FX Limited, NaraBet International, Northwood Energy Services, and Proport Marine Limited, among others. The Apex Bank did not state any reason for the action. Now away from Nigeria, Ghana's parliament have voted to abolish the death penalty, making the country the latest of several African nations that have moved to repeal capital punishment in recent years. No one has been executed in Ghana in 1993, although 176 people were on death row as of last year, according to the Ghana Prison Service. According to the Parliamentary Committee report, the new bill will amend the state's Criminal Offences Act to substitute life imprisonment for the death penalty. President Nana Akufo-Addo still has to assent for the law to take effect. Ghana is the 29th country to abolish the death penalty in Africa and the 124th globally, according to the Death Penalty Project, a London-based NGO that said it worked alongside partners in Ghana to help change the law. Equatorial Guinea, Sierra Leone, Central African Republic, the Zambia are among the latest African states to have ended capital punishments in the last 2 years. Still on the international scene, access to the residence and offices of Niger President Mohamed Bazoum was blocked off Wednesday by members of the elite presidential guard. The landlocked West African state is one of the most unstable nations in the world, experiencing 4 coups since independence from France in 1960, as well as numerous other attempts on power. According to reports, access was sealed off both to Bazoum's official home and offices in the presidential complex in Niamey, although there was no abnormal military deployment or sounds of gunfire in the area and traffic was normal. The country's last coup occurred in February 2010, overthrowing then-President Mamadou Tanja. Now in sports, Lionel Messi scored twice and assisted once on his first start for Inter Miami in a 4-0 win over Atlanta United. The Argentina star, 36, scored 2 inside the opening 22 minutes before setting up teammate Robert Taylor in the second half. After netting his second, Messi celebrated by pointing at Inter Miami owner David Beckham. His performance follows a match-winning stoppage-time free kick on his debut last week. Messi, who is a 7-time Ballon d'Or winner, only trained with his teammates for the first time last week after moving to the Major League Soccer side following the end of his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. The 2022 World Cup winner scored 32 goals in 75 games during a 2-year spell with the French champions and turned down lucrative offers from other countries to play in the US. Messi was substituted in the 78th minute to a standing ovation, with a number of fans leaving the 20,000-seat DRV PNK Stadium shortly afterwards. The win saw Inter Miami move into the knockout stages of the League's Cup. And finally, Wrexham beat 10-man Manchester United 3-1, but the newly promoted League Two club's victory was overshadowed by an injury to talisman Paul Mullin. Mullin, 28, suffered a punctured lung in a collision with goalkeeper Nathan Bishop part of a United side mostly comprised of under-21 players. Goals from Elliot Lee, Aaron Hayden and Sam Dalby sealed Wrexham's victory. Spanish 19-year-old Marc Jurado scored in first half injury time for United, who had Dan Gore, 18, sent off shortly after the restart. Ryan Reynolds was unable to attend, but Wrexham co-owner Rob McHenry was present to see his side earn a memorable win in front of a sold-out 34,248 crowd at Snapdragon Stadium in California. United boss Erik ten Hag, whose senior players have traveled on to Texas before tomorrow's match against Real Madrid, watched his youthful side's performance from the bench. The Premier League club's starting lineup also featured the experienced Johnny Evans, who has returned on a short-term deal after leaving Leicester City at the end of last season. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.